What's up, gamers? I'm your host, Cobra, and this is the Freeroll. Today, we're talking about tomorrow's Phantom Galaxies planet sale. So this week, Phantom Galaxies is finally kicking off its planet sale, or perhaps more accurately called an asteroid sale, because that's what most of us are going to be getting tomorrow and later on this week. But today we are going to cover everything that you need to know for the sale this week. If you have been following this channel, you might already be prepared, and the timestamps below will allow you to skip straight to my analysis and outlook, which will come after we cover the details for the sale. Almost a month ago, the Phantom Galaxies team put out a wonderful and detailed blog post about this sale, and if you're anything like me, you've read about dozens of other projects and sales since then and need a refresher. So we're going to go through that today rather quickly. And first, as you can see over here, is an outline of the general schedule. We are in May currently, and that is the public sale that is happening this week, so on time and delivered, which is always nice to see. It points out that next month there's going to be an in-game event. That could be very interesting. Sounds like it'll be an opportunity to potentially earn some additional NFTs, hopefully. And then the big event in July is when we're going to be able to start staking our planets, which is super important to note because Phantom Galaxies isn't going to offer an initial index offering or IDO for its token. Instead, it's going to be emitted from these planets via staking. And that's really important to know because staking is a really great mechanic for slowly introducing the token into the ecosystem, generally a more healthy way to do that. It also means that you can't list your planet on secondary, which tends to produce a more healthy secondary market as well, all things that we are going to hopefully see over the summer. This second slide has the rest of the key details that you need for this week's sale. We are currently on public round number 1. That means there's going to be 10,000 planets and asteroids available this week, with the heavy majority of them as asteroids, and the majority of the asteroids are small asteroids with 7,000 total quantity. There are 1,500 large asteroids, and then a combination of 500 total planets, with more than 80% of them being small planets and only 3 of them being large planets. Now, it's not going to be RNG. You're going to buy the asset class that you want directly, and those prices are listed in the chart at the bottom. They start out at $354 worth of US dollar value. It's going to be sold in ETH, but the prices are pegged to a US dollar value, and that goes all the way up to $150,000 for the large planet. It starts to get expensive very quickly, as the large asteroid is over $800, and once you get into the planets, you're looking at about $3,000 and up. One other important detail to call out is the token emissions, which are listed below as well. They also gave you a per token price of those emissions, which is very helpful. And as you can see, the larger assets get a much better price per token, which is important if you're investing, and even more important if your interest is more in the token than in the NFT itself. One thing that I want to call out there is you're going to see a minimum emission as well as a maximum emission. The price per token is based on the maximum, and that's because that is where the differences in the NFT classes come in. You'll notice that the minimum is the same for all of them. So if your intention is to be fully passive and just hold these to get the minimum amount of tokens, then you would be better off sticking with the lower end assets, because there's no real benefit for you to having the larger one. Just stack a whole bunch of small asteroids, and that will work out the same as trying to get your hands on a big beefy planet. However, if you're going to actively engage in the game, and if you're making this investment, I would encourage you to at least consider that, then you need to know the amount of tokens that you earn will get a multiplier based on the number of players that are visiting your planet. And there's going to be a whole bunch of different ways to encourage players to visit your planet. We will talk about those strategies in a future video, but just know that if you're not planning to actively manage the asset and give players a reason to come visit your planet, then you're probably better off sticking with the asteroids. Now, I keep on saying that the sale is this week, and that is because there are multiple rounds to this particular sale. 3 of them, in fact, and it kicks off tomorrow with Presale Round A. Presale Round A is for holders of the Hopeful NFT who were recently airdropped the Presale Ticket A, which will be burnt in exchange for the planet that they decide to purchase. This will be the first round. And my expectation is that all of the planets are going to sell in this round. That means if you have your sights set on an actual planet and not an asteroid, then you're going to need Presale's Ticket A. That starts tomorrow. This countdown is happening at about 2:40 Pacific time for me, which means that it's going to be a 5 p.m. Pacific time start. And again, if you want those planets, I would plan to be there right at the beginning. 24 hours later, Presale B is going to kick off at 5 p.m. on May 25th, and that is Pacific time. This will be the final pre-sale round, and this will be all of the lucky winners that were airdropped a Presale B ticket. Now, I fully expect that this round will be all asteroids. Maybe there will be a couple planets left over, but that seems unlikely after Presale A. But those asteroids are still a great value, and that is also the cheapest entry point for a planet of any type. So still a lot of value in this round. And the really good news is that that ticket is significantly cheaper to pick up on secondary. And then finally, on the 26th, again at 5 p.m. Pacific time, is going to be the public round. For this one, you don't need any ticket at all. Just show up at the time the sale starts, and you'll have an opportunity to purchase some asteroids. We do know that this round is going to happen for sure, and that is because there are currently 2,500 pre-sale ticket A and 3,000 pre-sale ticket B out there, which means that there's going to be another 5,000 available for the public sale, which is great for anybody that is new. You don't have to scramble and go pick up a ticket. I would recommend picking up a ticket B if your plan is to be in the public sale, simply because it is so inexpensive, and that's something we'll be talking about in the strategy section. All right, Cobra, we've got all the details. What should we do for this sale? Now, I've been following this project for a long time. The Hopeful NFT in my wallet was originally airdropped to me, which means that I was one of the first 2,000 people in that Discord, which now has 6 figures worth of users. We've been anticipating this sale for a long time, and I am going to purchase at least one. That said, I have some real concerns going into this sale, and they don't really have a lot to do with the Phantom Galaxies project itself, but more the overall market that we're in today. There are a couple of factors. First of all, the macro environment from an economic standpoint, even outside of crypto today, is kind of ugly. Stock market hasn't been doing well, and there's lots of people calling for recession, which unfortunately I think is probably going to happen. The crypto market is still heavily tied to the overall world economy, and so that is why we have seen just about everything suffer for the last month or two. This is a tough environment to release any sort of NFT in. And because of that, we are seeing that the cheap or free launches are the ones that are doing well, while the more expensive ones have tended to struggle, especially when they're games which are going to deliver real serious utility, but are going to take some time and patience to deliver said utility. It's a tough market out there, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this particular sale goes. The other factor is Yuga Labs and other deeds. This sale was 3 weeks ago, and it was very, very expensive. Since then, it has really held the interest of the entire NFT space this whole time, and it's because they are the market leaders, but also because it was such a big and expensive sale. In fact, I believe it's the largest NFT sale ever. So there are a lot of people that purchased those, and because there has been very little announcements from the Yuga Labs team, there hasn't been a ton of pump on secondary, which means anybody that was looking to flip those likely still holding their other deeds and doesn't have that liquidity available for another land sale, especially another expensive land sale. Now that said, the expensive parts of this sale are very limited in quantity. As I mentioned, there's only 500 planets in total, so if you can get your hands on one of those, I think you're going to be in really good shape. The asteroids, however, I don't expect them to have a lot or any real flipping potential, simply because there is a very large supply of them available. The demand for the tickets hasn't been great, and we may even see them struggle to sell those out. On top of all of that, I am also floored by the price of resale for these pre-sale tickets. If we take a look at OpenSea right now, you'll see that the cost for pre-sale ticket A is under $60. That's less than 0.03 Ethereum, which is basically free in this space. I went ahead and picked up a extra ticket myself. I paid twice that just a day or two ago, and the price continues to fall. At this point, I don't even know if I will for sure use that, but the idea there was that I always like to get at least two. That way, if the prices do soar, I can sell one and still hold on to another one to play with later on. Now, there's one more piece of information that I think is important to call out, and that is that the private round has already happened. In fact, if we go back to the slide, it shows that there were almost 8,500 planets allocated for the private sale, and they announced after it was completed that they sold a little over 7,700 of those. Now, tough to say what their expectations were with that particular sale, but usually you're going for a sellout, and that didn't happen. They only got about 90% of the way there. That said, we do know that that round was very difficult to get into. My alpha group, the NFT Snipers, certainly approached Phantom Galaxies to see if that was possible for us, because we are very similar to a guild, although very clearly not a guild, but we do have a similar level of buying power and had quite a bit of interest in this opportunity. But we were denied that, which means that lots of other groups likely were denied as well, and they are going to have to participate in this week's public sales. So with all of that said and done, our plan here at the Freeroll, and my official recommendation, which is never financial advice, is simply purchase what you want for playing and being a part of the game in general, but don't go in with expectations to be able to flip these for a large or potentially any profit at all. This is especially true if you're only able to purchase an asteroid. The planets are where things might get a bit more interesting, because while they sold a bunch of planets in the private round, there's only 500 in the public round. There's very little reason to assume that any of the private round sales are going to be available on secondary, which means that if you do land a planet during the public sale, that will be a very scarce item, and it very well may have a strong secondary market and price action. I do believe that long term, as we get closer to the game and we get closer to actually being able to stake these planets, that we'll see the value increase, and hopefully the overall market will be a little bit better by that point as well. But don't go in assuming that there's going to be an opportunity to immediately flip and create a free roll or profit. And that wraps up today's video on the Phantom Galaxies planet sale. I hope you found this helpful, and if you did, consider giving me a follow on Twitter. That's where I love to engage with the community and answer your questions. Also, double check for me that you've hit that like and subscribe button below. It goes a long way towards supporting the channel.